Body Shop connects you with the hottest fitness models in the world. Learn the backstage secrets that the most successful bikini divas, fitness models, and bodybuilders use to dominate their competition and land on the covers of magazines. Only here at the Body Shop will we allow you to listen and talk to the best of the best in fitness competitions. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Andre Bricks St. Clair. Thank you for allowing me and the Body Shop into your airwaves. If you are passionate about bodybuilding and fitness, then you found a new home. All of us here at FTNS Radio would like to welcome you to the Body Shop. So, today, we have a special guest that will be calling in. His name is Jimmy Smith, all right? Now, Jimmy Smith is a certified strength and conditioning specialist based in Stamford, Connecticut. He has consulted with a variety of clients, including athletes, figure competitors, and bodybuilders. Jimmy is also the author of The Physique Formula, which is the muscle-building secrets of the world's best cover models. You can find that available at www.jimmysmithtraining.com. All right, now, before we get to Jimmy Smith, right, what I'd like to do is welcome everybody here to the Body Shop. Here on FTNS Radio, what our goal is to not just be on the radio to talk. We're here to educate you. We're here to give you intuitive information that can take your training to the next level, teach you how to market yourself, and eventually become successful within the fitness industry. So while you're listening to the world's first fitness radio, we hope that you're learning a whole lot more than you're just listening. All right, so on our phones, I believe we do have Jimmy. Jimmy, are you there with us?
Yeah, hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Big Jim? How you doing, baby?
I'm good, man. No complaints out of me. How you doing?
Man, you know, I'm just doing great. Man. Now, Jimmy, you have, a remarkable background, okay? But it also seems that your passion is in the world of sports nutrition supplementation market. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to pick your brain a little bit for some of our listeners that, you know, are basically taking a bunch of supplements but don't really know what they are or what they really do, okay?
For sure.
All right, good. So what I really want to do is I just want to get, you know, as much information that we can from you, all right?
Yeah, no, I'm with it. I will give you guys the raw truth about it. I'm not going to hold anything back.
See, now that's what I'm talking about. Because right here at the Body Shop, man, all we want to do is educate and stimulate our listeners and get them to be better athletes. So, you know, Jimmy, the first thing I want to talk about is, you know, the one of the most popular supplements in the world today. Okay, this supplement was discovered back in the mid-90s. You know, it's just a natural thing that occurs in the body, but a lot of people still don't know what it is. And what I'm going to ask you is, what is creatine?
You know what? That's the funniest thing is that creatine is, like you said, it's been around since the 90s, but we still aren't 100% sure what it does. And now you hear a lot of different marketing claims about how creatine works, but in reality, when we break down the science, we know that we know actually very little about how creatine works. Some of the theories with the most science behind them are that it helps from a cell volumizing perspective, which essentially means that creatine pulls water into the muscle cell. It was marketed as that, and then guys took it and felt that they got puffy on it. Mm-hmm. I've worked with a lot of people around the world. No one's ever come and said they got bloated with taking creatine. If they got bloated, that's usually their kind of word for, I gained a little too much fat. It's like in a bodybuilding contest when everybody says, oh, judges told me I was a little soft or I was holding water. You weren't really holding water. You just had a little too much body fat that you didn't lose.
Wow.
But back to the point at hand on creatine. So it works from a couple of perspectives. From a cell volumizing perspective, we see that. Also, we know it's naturally occurring in the body with ATP. So we know creatine can help us with a little bit of strength advantage initially when we take it. I've talked to a lot of people from a lot of different companies, and they all tell me that if they didn't come out with a creatine product early on, their line would have never been successful. Because creatine, beta-alanine, and caffeine are really the only three natural supplements that we can take that we can feel right away. Everything else, it's going to take a couple of weeks to even see results. It's not something that you can go to the gym and you can feel with right away.
Okay.
So creatine's a fantastic nutrient.
Okay. Now, there's a lot of different creatines that is actually out there on the market. and it's actually bombarding the athlete with which form of creatine should I take. Now, when I ask that question, I'm going to say first you got creatine monohydrate. Okay. Now, even though you and I may know what it is, I'm going to ask it from an uneducated standpoint because I want you to fill us with the knowledge of it. So you got creatine monohydrate. Okay, then you got a new one I'll call, I believe it's ethyl creatine. Then you had the creatine ester. Okay, and so on and so forth. Then you had the one that was almost like the Alka-Seltzer type of tablet where you drop it in the water and it fizzes up and it's supposed to enter your bloodstream a whole lot quicker. Is that true or is that just a bunch of bunk?
That is a whole bunch of bunk. The one thing that my bio didn't say, actually I have a master's of science as well, so I'm heavily involved in this. And the thing about all those different creatines that you mentioned, Crealkalin's another one.
Yes.
And that seems to be the most popular alternative. None of them work besides creatine monohydrate. The funny thing is when creatine first came out and first got popular around 98, and it sounds weird that we're saying back then in 98, but when creatine first became popular around 95, 96, 98, people were saying, well, there's no research on it.
Right.
Well, now we'll fast forward to 2011, and creatine is the most researched, creatine monohydrate is the most researched product on the market. And we know that creatine monohydrate does everything from helping us with muscle building, helping us with the strength gains and the recovery from the faster regeneration of ATP in our body. We know that creatine monohydrate, they give it to people with brain dysfunction, so people with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. You're even seeing new evidence now coming out about creatine monohydrate that it actually may be the most powerful antioxidant we know of. The funny thing about it is that everybody focuses on, eat your berries, eat your, whatever for antioxidants, when the fact of the matter is a lot of researchers is showing that creatine monohydrate can be the best thing in terms of antioxidants. And we've had, in supplement research, you have companies that do it, and then you have pharmaceutical companies that look at it. And a lot of pharmaceutical companies have looked at creatine, tried to find a way to patent it and whatnot, and they can't because creatine monohydrate, when they've done a lot of research studies that compare it to Crealkalin, compare it to ethyl ester for both health and physique benefits, and the other ones fall flat in their face. The creatine monohydrate, time and time again, they fail to bring the results that creatine monohydrate does. It's like Kobe in the fourth; it always delivers.
All right, now for those of you that are just now tuning in to the Body Shop right here on FTNS Radio, we have Jimmy Smith on the line. Okay. Jimmy has been on some of the top fitness media outlets in the world. We have Men's Fitness, Bodybuilding.com, Maximum Fitness, T Nation, and right now we have Jimmy here on the Body Shop. So Jimmy is just educating you guys so that you're not going to the store, you're not going to a GNC or a vitamin shop or Supplement City and just buying any old thing that you see. Jimmy is actually giving you the knowledge and the science behind it all. So as we're going more and more in depth into creatine, my question for you is this right here, Jimmy, because what I'm going to throw at you next, okay, is what's known as gym science.
Sure.
Okay, now there's no, rhyme or reason as to why people come up and say the things that they say. But one thing that's always being said about creatine is, okay, I take it, I get puffy, and then, once I go off of it, I urinate it all out of my system, and then I got to keep going out there and buying more and more and more. How true is that?
Yeah, that's not true at all. That's it's a lot like the nutrition myth of a lot of small meals for your metabolism. It's just something that has been passed down from generation to generation of people in the gym because you either have a trusted relationship with someone that is bigger or looks the way they want to look,
okay,
or something the supplement store told them that. But to go back to creatine and how you look puffy, will creatine make you retain water? In theory, we think about the cell volumizing benefits, which is essentially just our muscle retaining more water, which is an anabolic signal, a muscle growth signal.
Okay.
But will you retain a lot of water to the point that you'll look puffy? No, you're going to look puffier after you had the General Tso's chicken, place down the street, To be really honest. So creatine's not going to make you retain that much water. And now in terms of, coming off of it and you lose it, might you lose it? Yeah, but I don't know how much of that is from creatine. A lot of a lot of times there's a placebo effect to even supplements that actually work, like a creatine, is where you'll take it and you'll be like, okay, I'm taking creatine, so you eat better, or you eat more, or you train harder, or you think you can push the weights harder because you have this creatine behind you. And again, I love creatine monohydrate. It works. But when people are taking something, they feel like, oh, okay, I can take this. So they lift harder, they train more intense, they eat more food. There's so many other synergistic factors that go into it. So when they stop taking the creatine, then they feel like, oh, well, my strength went down, or, you know, this happened, or I peed out. You know, it's a lot of times when people go on diets, they accept the fact that they have to lose strength. Well, you don't. It depends on how smartly you do it. So it's really the same thing with creatine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, now, again, we're going back to the gym science because these are the questions that the people want me to ask you, okay? And since I have the direct access to you, I'm going to ask that, and, you know.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Why is it that when I'm taking creatine and I'm buying the pure creatine monohydrate, I have to go through a 5-day loading phase?
That is all marketing hype from the companies. They looked at it and they said, how can we make this more efficient? And they've done studies that have looked at loading versus non-loading. What they do find with loading is that you tend to get a little earlier benefit of creatine. And when I say earlier benefit, it's not anything astronomical. It's nothing that's going to change how your physique looks. But because you're putting 20, 30 grams of creatine into your body ASAP daily over a 5 to 7 day period, you will start the whole process of everything we described with creatine faster.
Okay.
But they've compared that to the traditional someone that just pops up in a bottle of powder, takes their 5 grams daily, and they have found that in terms of the benefits, you're only going to see a marginal, if any, benefit over creatine loading. There's really no need to load it at all. That's just a marketing hype. I mean, there's companies out there that actually sell a preload creatine, and they convince you through their marketing that you have to take this creatine to preload, and then you have to take another creatine, you know, while you're on, to get the benefits of it. And when you look at the preload creatine, it's creatine monohydrate with a little flavoring and some carbs. You know, just because you'll get that glycogen load and you'll feel better with it quicker. But there's a marginal benefit, if any, for loading versus not loading. You don't have to load.
Okay, very, very good. I just received an email from Dave out in Waterbury. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to email ftns.co. That's ftns.co, and I'll be sure to ask the questions that you want to ask. So Dave's question is this right here. Okay, why do I need to load my creatine with grape juice because of the sugar?
Well, a good question, Dave. Thank you for asking. I actually took a state title from Holy Cross of Waterbury in basketball, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Cheap shot.
Yeah. The only thing that you had to you don't have to at all. Again, that's marketing hype back from the late 90s. Early 200s that you had to take grape juice because it somehow pull into your muscle cell quicker. You really don't. The whole theory behind that is that because you have the simple sugar, which your body can break down and process a little bit quicker, that because your blood sugar spikes because of the insulin release from all that sugar, that you should, in theory, again, pull that creatine into your muscle cell faster. You don't have to. It doesn't work. Save yourself the calories and the carbs and the negative benefits of the sugar, and just take creatine with your whey protein post-workout.
Nice.
Shake with water. Yeah.
Okay, I have another email here. This one is from Sarah from New Britain. Okay, she wants to know, is creatine safe for females to take?
Yes, creatine is entirely safe for females to take. They can take it at the same dosage as guys take. I recently consulted with abcnews.com for a fitness piece, and the main thing they were talking about is the differences between men and women. And it kind of goes back to this question that with creatine, she can take the same amount, she can do the same thing as every other person that takes it. There's nothing hormonally about creatine. The knock on creatine, again, with the old gym rats in the late 90s is that, it does nothing for your testosterone, so therefore it can't help you build muscle. Well, we never wanted creatine to do anything for our hormones.
Right.
Creatine appealed to people because it was something different besides all the hormonal stuff that was in the market back then. You know, when there was American Gladiators and when the WWE had IcoPro, had their supplement line. It's something different than you can take. So, no, she can take it. There's nothing hormonally bad about it. She can take 5 grams daily just like everybody else does.
All right, very good, very good. Oh, look at here. We have something here from Twitter from Mr. Big Dog. Okay, Mr. Big Dog wants to know, all right, if I take a creatine, how soon should I come off of it before entering a competition?
That's a good question, Mr. Big Dog. I'm on Twitter at Jimmy Smith Train. It's interesting because he's doing a contest. With the people I work with that do contests, I have them take creatine up to the relatively end of their contest, maybe a week out. I have them drop it again. That depends on how much, it depends on how I learn your body,
right.
Because everybody's individual. But for a general rule of thumb, he can take the creatine all the way up to the week before the contest. It's not going to negatively impact him based on what he does with his water manipulations. He won't have any bad problems with it at all.
Right, very good. Okay, so you've answered quite a few questions about creatine, and man, we thank you for that. We thank you for just, debunking all of these myths that women can't take it and guys need to do a loading phase, and then you got all these different versions of creatine out there and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jimmy Smith on the line. Jimmy Smith is just giving you the straight shot on what these supplements are, what they do, how they're to be used. So Jimmy, listen, I do have to take a break and pay some bills, okay? But when I come back, we're going to move on to a couple other different supplements. So just stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Body Shop right here on FTNS Radio. We got to pay some bills, but we'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to The Body Shop. I am your host, Andre Brick St. Clair. On the line, we have Mr. Jimmy Smith, who's a personal trainer, author, and fitness expert. Now, before the break, we were talking about certain types of supplements, mainly creatine, and Jimmy was actually debunking a lot of myths about creatine. So, Jimmy, I have a question for you before I get back to the emails and, the Body Shop fans at Twitter. What I want to know is this right here, okay? What is your favorite brand of creatine, or which creatine do you normally recommend for some of your clients?
It comes down to two brands. I don't recommend one over the other. I like Optimum Nutrition's creatine monohydrate. They're one of my favorite companies, and I use Iron Tech's creatine monohydrate. They're both just powders. I've been playing with a creatine that I got private label from a company in Torzberg, Germany, that actually is the company that makes all the Creapure that they farm out to a lot of these companies, and I actually see a little bit of more of a benefit on that creatine. Mm-hmm. It's weird, I feel a little stronger with it, more in comparison to other creatines, but any of those two brands that are commercially available over here that you guys can get easily work well too.
Okay, very good. Let's move on to another supplement that goes almost hand in hand with creatine, okay? And that is glutamine or glutamine, depending on how they want to say it. All right, can you tell us what exactly is glutamine?
Glutamine is an amino acid that, again, during that golden period of around early 2000s, late 90s, there started to be a lot of evidence in the magazines. Muscle Media was big back then, and those magazines that you have to take glutamine when you take creatine because it's an amino acid that studies show was depleted in your body during times of stress. Well, the thing is, people read that article, they see the sexy headline, but they don't look at the citation. And back then, citations weren't as readily available as they are now.
Right.
When the subjects they looked at with glutamine were people with HIV, were people with extreme muscle wasting disease, were people were burn victims. So these are people that thankfully everybody is not,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, they have conditions that deteriorate muscle a lot faster than someone who just finished a workout or someone who didn't eat in a few hours. And a lot of that glutamine also was given intravenously at higher dosages to the point that, we can't even get that because we're going to have to take 40, 50 grams a day. Then it doesn't become cost effective. But that's a little bit into what I think about glutamine, and that's a little bit of background of it as well.
So basically, it's more marketing hype than it is actual science that goes behind it.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I haven't used glutamine in a while. The only time I recommend glutamine is for people that have leaky gut syndrome, people that have some digestive issues with, a lot of the people that listen to this show are more of the bodybuilding-based culture. So right or wrong, they don't really pay attention to how they feel after they have grains. But I work with some endurance athletes and some people with some health conditions, and glutamine is a good product I give them.
Okay.
Because there is some evidence that glutamine does work synergistically in the gut with creatine and other nutrients, but it's not something that I advocate for someone trying to lose muscle, someone trying to build muscle and burn fat. To me, it doesn't have much of a use there. I know a lot of companies put it in their intra-workout drinks,
right?
But again, I take it in my intra-workout drink just because it's in there. But to me, it doesn't have any benefit.
Okay. Now, you did mention that glutamine is an amino acid. Okay, and as people know, that's not something that your body normally makes. So you would have to supplement that. So if glutamine is basically a bunch of hype, then why is it, why why is the company still pushing it and no one is actually doing the research on this stuff?
It's two parts. Now, well, they're pushing it because it still sells, right?
Right.
It's still making you money, and you're still making money off it. Why not do it? The sad thing is, a lot of the consumers will go to a store and they'll say, "Okay, and I see this all the time. I'm just building muscle. What do I take?" So the supplement store owner will give them fish oil, a protein, amino acids, creatine, beta-alanine, good products, and the person never knows what works. My advice to people is always try 1 to 2 things and tell me how you feel on it. See how you progress for a couple weeks, and then come back. So it's still being sold because the consumers accepting it. Because a lot of people, that may not be as interested in this as the listeners of this show are. So they'll take a supplement. They'll just trust in it. They may take it for a week and then stop working out, and then take it for a day, and then don't take it for another 14 days. There's a lot of reasons behind it.
Right.
And in terms of the research, there is still being research done on glutamine, but again, it's being done on people with extreme conditions that are getting it through IV, or it's being done by supplement companies that are paying for the research. And if they're paying for the research, the outcome's going to be what they want it to be. It's going to be correlation and not cause, which is a big thing in the supplement industry. They say, glutamine prevents muscle wasting. That's a correlation. That's not a direct cause. There's, why is the muscle being wasted initially, right? Because the person unfortunately has cancer or something like that. So that's really why glutamine's still popular, because it's still being pushed, because it's still selling.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, now, as we're talking about muscle wasting, let's make a smooth transition into something that I know is on the minds of a lot of our listeners, and that is protein powders. What types are good, and what exactly is a protein powder?
Right. That's a great transition. Luther Vandross would have been proud of you for how smooth that was. So there's various different types of protein powders on the market, and we can talk about each individual one. But the most popular one that bodybuilders are going to know, and people that listen to the show are going to know, is whey protein.
Okay.
Protein. It's funny. I get calls a lot, and I get emails. Well, how much protein is too much, or how many scoops can they take a day? My response is always, well, how many chicken breasts do you want to eat a day?
Wow.
All whey protein is it's a derivative of milk and dairy and cheese. That's then extracted, and it's put into a powder form that we can take in. You get those amino acids in other meat sources, in other protein sources. You get amino acids in beans and rice. They're not complete amino acids in terms of they're not all the amino acids. Whey is just popular because it's all the amino acids in one. It does have a ton of muscle building and fat loss benefits. Independent research has verified this time after time again. Has a lot of health benefits as well. So whey is the most popular one. Then you have casein that a lot of people are high on. I'm not as high on casein. There's soy. There's really no. I've worked with a lot of people with a lot of health issues, and I don't really recommend soy. There's collagen protein, which again is another one of those ones. Then you have the proteins that people that are allergic to whey. You have pea, hemp, rice, all different kinds of proteins. But the big ones are whey and casein.
Okay. All right, hold on. I have an email coming in. John from Virginia. John from Virginia asks, typically, he says he's 6'3", he's 205 pounds, he's about 12%. Not sure if I really buy that or not. He wants to know, what is the time window to take a post-workout protein?
Great question. There is research that shows the longer you wait post-workout. I don't remember the exact time they did, but the longer you wait post-workout, the harder it is for your body to store the incoming nutrients in muscle cells. But now that's not to say you have this quick window of 10 minutes that you have to take something in or else. The window is probably more around the 3 to 4 hour time frame. But basically what I essentially tell them, my question to all my clients is, how close do you live to the gym? I live within 5 to 10 minutes of my gym, and I drink branched chain amino acids while I train. So I'm still kind of in a net positive anabolic state. So I just get in my car, I drive home, I down my shake, and then I have a whole food meal. I don't ever really have a carbohydrate powder. A lot of them are just unhealthy to a point. So I'll just have something like a bagel or an oatmeal, and that kind of goes against the grain, again, of fast-absorbing carbs. But, carbs are carbs. But in terms of the post-workout shake, just get it when you can. I mean, if you have a 15, 20-minute ride from the gym, just put your protein in the shaker cup, because we all have a lot of them, and put water in it and you're good to go. If not, if you live close to the gym, just go home and down it.
Completely understood. Okay, now, as we're talking about the three main kinds of protein, and you got whey, you got casein, and you got soy. Okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't soy basically like the vegetable derivative?
Yeah, essentially correct. It comes from soybeans.
All right. Now, Jimmy, Derek Poundstone, okay, who was the runner-up to the World's Strongest Man a couple of years ago. He's also a cop up here in Connecticut. But Derek Poundstone recommends soy protein. All right. Yeah. So is he basically saying that because he's sponsored by a company, or do you think he actually really does consume the soy protein itself to attain his size and his protein needs?
I don't really know, to be honest. Last I checked, I think he was still with MHP. I don't know, and I know MHP makes a wide variety of whey and caseins. But some people just feel that. They go and they read research on a soy protein. And maybe he's had soy protein is linked to a lot of different health issues. I don't know what's going on with him personally or with his family history, so maybe he takes it for that and says, soy is the only protein I need to take.
Right.
Maybe he just takes a shake a day. I don't really know what's going on, so that I can't really comment on.
Okay. Let me just pick your brain a little bit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if somebody as massive as Derek Poundstone is recommending soy, all right, for our listeners that, may be allergic to whey or may have, a little stomach problems when they take the casein protein, about how much soy can an individual consume during the course of a day?
It's actually a lot smaller than people think. You see in research, you get some negative effects in terms of men around, last I checked, I think it was around like 60 grams a day, give or take, before, over a consistent period of time. Not one day. It's not like one day you're going to get man boobs from having it. So it's over a consistent period of time. So even though someone may be big and massive, to get big and massive,
right,
I'm sure they have to eat a lot of food as well. I'm sure a lot of their food they're eating is chicken, is beef, is fish, and meats like that. So I'm going to go towards those things, given the person their size, more than a soy protein.
Very good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have Jimmy Smith is on the line. Now, Jimmy, I don't want to continue on without first giving you a chance to actually tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
Cool. The easiest way that you guys can find me is just go to jimmysmithtraining.com. That's my home site. I post blogs about 2 to 3 times a week. I'm most active on 2 other places, though. Facebook.com/Physique Formula. That's my fan page, and we just started up about 2 weeks ago, and we've had a great turnout there.
Nice.
I'm there all day. A lot of people come in and jump on board and help or in the discussion forums. And Twitter.com/JimmySmithTrain. I am on Twitter during the day all the time from my phone, and I have a lot of interaction on there. So you guys can get at me at Twitter or Facebook or just JimmySmithTraining.com.
All right, very good. Now, for those that are just tuning in and a lot of people, Jimmy, are going to question your credentials. So I just want to touch up on a little bit of it, okay? And then we're going to go right back into the questions, all right? Now, Jimmy is not some 42-year-old former competitor that's, trying to push products down your throat. Jimmy, you're only 27 years old.
Yeah, I'm actually 28. I'm 28 years old.
Okay,
now. 28. It's funny, to give you a quick synopsis of how I got into this. I was a high school basketball player in Connecticut at Trinity Catholic, which if anybody knows high school basketball, I know that's one of the top premier programs in the state. Knew I wanted to play ball in college. So once I got to that next level, I had to gain some size. So I'm 6'6". So I hit the weights. I fell in love with it. But being 6'6", it's hard to put on size. Like, that's the thing. The general person in the gym sees someone that's 6'3", 6'4", 6'6", standing next to someone that's 5'8", and they're like, oh, the 5'8" person is massive, and the 6'6" person isn't. Mm-hmm. Well, at 6'6", I have more muscle than a lot of people that look huge, but it's just distributed more. So I said I'm 6'6". I got to do other stuff. I got to try other things. So I play with training methods. I play with nutrition methods, all while pursuing my master's degree in human movement. Got a couple other certifications, like the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, which is kind of the main one in the industry. And, just play with various different methods. And what I was able to do was able to catch the attention of magazines like Men's Fitness or ABCNews.com or Maximum Fitness, a lot of places like that. So, that's kind of a quick synopsis and background on me.
Wow, absolutely. And let's not forget that you've been selected to be a member on the advisory board for Maximum Fitness magazine and World's Physique magazines.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
I'm proud of that. It's hustle that got me there. You know, it's hustle.
hey, listen, hustle, hard work, you know, all that stuff is very, very important. But I say all of that because I don't want our listeners to just feel like, okay, here's some guy rambling off a bunch of nonsense. You know what I mean? When you are actually certified, you know what I mean? Like this is what you dedicated your life to. You know,
that's
and
exactly it. That's my passion. This is my passion. This is what I love to do. You know, the thing is, I don't just train clients and then work out and sit on my butt.
Right.
I'm always reading research. I'm always doing stuff, and that's the main thing I wanted to get across on this call was that, you know, with Facebook and Twitter, with the proliferation of social media, you can go on sites and see a ripped-up person that competes in national shows, and they'll give you advice, and the advice is usually sketchy. They're genetically blessed. Or you can see a bodybuilder that's in a magazine, they'll tell you advice. Well, they probably took some shortcuts there too. Or you see a lot of trainers that will follow other trainers' mythology, you know, and they'll recommend the same stuff without ever looking and ever questioning. My whole passion is about questioning to learn what works and to give people an honest view of it as opposed to saying, oh, take this, you know, whatever.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. So that's what I try to bring to the show.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, now, Jimmy, being that you actually work in the sports nutrition supplement market, okay, on average, how much does the average athlete spend on supplements?
It ranges. You know, I see some crazy stuff. I see people that routinely drop about $150 to $200 a week.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people spend. I would average, like the average person that's hardcore into it is about $300 to $400 per month. And I'm not saying that the more you spend, the more hardcore you are. That's false.
Right.
But you generally see the people that do work that you see in the gyms, you see at the shows, you see online. They're usually all about it. They go anywhere from $250 to $400 a month.
A month.
Yeah.
Now, what exactly are you buying for $200 to $400 a month? Because I mean, there's only so much protein that you're going to take because your body only assimilates and breaks down, you know, X amount of protein grams per meal and per hour and so on and so forth. So without getting too scientific about it, I mean, what exactly are they spending, you know, in range of $400 a month on?
Yeah, it's funny. And the thing is, there's only so many products that actually work. So you have your proteins where you'll get a good quality protein for about $50 to $60. I mean, there's a lot of farces with protein too. People are trying to sell grass-fed protein for $30. That's a whole other thing there. You're not going to get a good quality grass-fed protein product yet. So you have your proteins, creatines, beta-alanine. A lot of this stuff gets expensive when people go to the fat burners. You know, instead of just buying caffeine or RALA, they'll buy the latest fat burner by the latest sexy supplement company that's like a $40 bottle. Or they'll buy the latest hormone testosterone boosters, which is another thing. Again, we talk about people that sell sales copy and products online or that, you know, look good because they model in magazines. They're saying they're natural. These guys are online talking about how they're taking pro-hormones that they don't even realize are essentially just legal steroids, right? So
basically,
that's where a lot of stuff comes expensive because I've seen, you know, the craziest things like IGF boosters that go for $80 a pop, and guys don't blink because they want to add an extra inch on their biceps. You know, they'll use their whole paycheck to come in when the hottest supplement that, you know, is renamed from an actual steroid to be a legal supplement, you know, to be called Diamazone or whatever, you know, and they'll buy that for $80 a pop.
Right. Okay, so now that you've actually brought it into the forefront, okay, as we're talking about steroids and steroid derivatives and pro-hormones and you know, the ban on pro-hormones, and now, you know, people are pushing to have the ban lifted and all that nonsense. My question to you is this right here, okay? What is it that people really need as far as supplements?
In terms of essential, what you really need, the things I recommend, things I take are the following. A B complex, because everybody has stress.
Of course.
It's help with carbohydrate and fat metabolism. Whey protein, creatine monohydrate. I like beta-alanine in terms of reducing fatigue and helping you push and extend your sets a little bit. Vitamin C. I like branched chain amino acids. I'm not as sold on the science as a lot of other people are. People proclaim it to be the best thing in terms of muscle building, and when in reality it's not there yet. But I take it when I work out, and I take it sometimes during the day. The fish oil, I'm a huge fish oil guy. I take up to 9-12 grams a day. Fantastic for joints and for losing body fat. Magnesium and zinc, two kind of minerals that we know from DMA, but to really get the benefit of them, you should take them separately because you can go higher on your magnesium dose, and they're both critical for hormone support, for recovery. A green tea pill, as always. I drink green tea, but you should take a pill as well. And then you can go greens powders, things like that. CLA is another great product for fat loss. So those are essentially what I take.
Okay, all right. Now see, those are some very good products out there. Okay, but let's say somebody is coming up to you, and their thing is, okay, listen, I don't have enough money to take this, that, and the third. I just want to take creatine. I want to take protein and some branched-chain amino acids, maybe a multivitamin, maybe a multimineral. What would you say to them? But before you answer that as soon as we come back from commercial, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, we here at The Body Shop have Jimmy Smith on the lines. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Body Shop. It is your host, Andre Brooks St. Clair. On the line, we have professional trainer, author, fitness expert, and supplement line guru. We got Jimmy Smith. Now, before the break, I asked Jimmy, somebody's going to approach him and say, okay, you know what, I don't want to take all the things that you mentioned. I just want to take a basic protein, a multivitamin, and maybe a creatine, and I wanted to know what Jimmy's take on that was. So, Jimmy, you still there with me, man?
Yeah, I'm here with you.
All right, cool. So, again, somebody comes up to you, right, and they're like, hey, listen, all I want is a decent protein. I want to take a multivitamin / multi-mineral and maybe a creatine. How wise is that?
I think that's smart. That's wise. They want to save money. They may not have the money to spend. I would tell them, go ahead, take it every day, and train hard. All
right. Now, in the line that you're in, okay, I'm sure that people want you to endorse their products, or they want you to, speak highly of this company versus that company. All right. Now, I know you to be a man of honor, okay, but does that influence your decision either way to try to push that towards somebody or to recommend that?
No, to be honest, I've had that happen a couple times to me, and a lot of times I make sure everybody sends the product to me, and if I use it, and if I give it to a couple of my buddies that I know train and are kind of into it, and if they don't like it, especially if I don't like it, I don't recommend it, so no.
All right. Now, once again, Jimmy, where exactly are you located?
I'm in Stamford, Connecticut. You guys can hit me up on jimmysmithtraining.com, facebook.com/physiqueformula, twitter.com/jimmysmithtrain, and I actually do a lot of independent supplement reviews on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jimmysmithtrain. I call them true supplement reviews, and they're unbiased with the company. I just give the raw, honest truth about it.
Very good. Okay, now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you and just speak to you, on a one-on-one basis, is there a number that they can reach you at?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is through my email, and that's just jimmy@jimmysmithtraining.com, or, again, tweet at me. It's not private. You can DM me, but twitter.com/jimmysmithtraining.
Okay. Now, once again, fitness fans, Jimmy is 28 years old. You say you stand about 6'6", correct?
I am 6'6", yes, sir.
That's a tall dude, man. Tell you what, though. You ever see me on the court, I still dunk on you, man. But
if I let you get up, I might have to fly you favorably. You ain't going to dunk on me.
I don't know about that, man. I'm like Spud Webb out there, baby. You know what I mean? All right. But Jimmy has attained a certified strength and condition specialist certification from the National Strength and Condition Association. You have a master's degree in human movement. You've been selected to be a member of the advisory board for Maximum Fitness magazine as well as World Physique magazine. And I mean, your credentials, they go on and on and on and on and on. And I could probably spend hours doing that. But you know what? That's not really what I want to do. What I want to know now, Jimmy, okay, is I'm going to be taking a few emails from some of our fans. And after the emails, I'm going to come at you with some rapid fire questions. All right, so I want to know just off the top of your head, somebody approaches you with this, and that. I want you to just tell me what comes off the top of your head. Is that cool?
Let's do it. That's cool.
All right, sounds good. Here we go. First email. Hold on. I'm just waiting for it to load. Okay, here we go. Sarah from New York. She says, hey, Jimmy, very informative. As a female, would you recommend more weight training or more supplementation for me if I do want to get into the fitness game?
Hey, Sarah, thanks for the question. It really depends where your body is at, and you know, you can shoot me out some pictures if you want at Jimmy@JimmyShouldTrain.com, and I can give you an honest assessment. But it really depends where your body is at. Most people do need to train more. You need to continue to develop your base, but it's all diet. You know, I have clients I've dieted on 300 grams of carbs that do very little cardio. And I know that's kind of sacrilegious in the fitness industry, but it's all diet. So if your diet's on point, you can definitely do really well in fitness contests.
All right, here we go. Mike from Cali. Mike says, actually, you kind of pretty much answered this question, but you know what? Just to be fair, at the Body Shop, I'm going to read the question anyway. So Mike wants to know if I'm taking the supplements that you recommend, how much cardio do I really need to do? Because out here in Cali, it's fairly warm, and I stay about 10%.
You're going back to Cali strictly for the weather.
Yeah, you already know it, baby.
A little VIG, but back to the question. The thing with it is how much cardio is dependent on your body fat levels and on your goals. If you're competing in 12 weeks, that's going to give me a different recommendation than if you're competing in 22 weeks or if you have a photo shoot in 22 weeks. So it really depends on your body fat goals and your nutritional status and your stress in your life. But to give you a general answer, I don't want to leave you hanging. For most people that are kind of how you describe where you're at, I start them 3 days a week at 20 minutes. One of them is a HIIT interval session. And then go from there, but it depends on so many factors.
Okay, and when you say HIIT, that, ladies and gentlemen, that stands for high-intensity training. Okay, so I don't want people to go out there and decide, you know, they're going to start punching a punching bag for 20 minutes and wonder, oh, my God, well, you know, why is my wrist hurting?
Right,
All right. Next email, we got, oh, look at this name. We got Big James all the way from Philly. Big James wants to know this right here. He says, okay, I'm really not into bodybuilding, but I do want to look good. All right. I just want to be able to go to the beach, take my shirt off. What are some of the best supplements that just keep me in shape?
No, a great question coming from Philly. I was down there to see my Knicks lose, but that's before we got mellow.
Yeah, we ain't going to talk about that.
Some of the best supplements that you could take just to be in shape, just the ones that I recommend, whey protein, fish oil. Fish oil is essential for losing body fat, magnesium, RALA. Just stay with those basic ones. You don't need to go too crazy.
Okay. Now, here we go. Let's get some rapid fire questions, okay?
Let's do it.
All right, so it's going to be a little different, okay? I'm going to name just a few supplement brands, okay?
Right.
And I want you to tell me good or bad, the first ones that just pop into your head.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first we're going to start off with a couple of creatines.
Mm-hmm.
All right, creatine. We got MHP?
I never used it.
Never used it. Very, very good. Now we got another line, I'm sorry? Okay. BSN.
BSN, never used it. I know a couple guys that used it, and their results were so-so.
So-so. Very interesting. Okay. Let's move off of that, and let's go into the protein, because that seems to be what most people are actually going to be interested in anyway. Okay?
Sure.
So now we got the line that's actually being sold out of Walmart or whatever it is. I believe it's the black and red bottle. It's called Fortress.
Yep. I don't really know the brand. I never even looked at the label.
All right. Now, what do you feel about the BSN protein Synthesix?
You know, it's a little too heavy on the fat for my liking and for my clients, because that's how they make it taste good.
Mm-hmm.
I know they were just bought by a Gambia that owns Optimum Nutrition, so their quality might improve, but haven't taken Synthesix or recommended it to my clients in about 2 years. But I do know some people that like it and use it. So.
Okay. Now that you mentioned Optimum, I was actually going to go there, because Optimum has this, you know, this big dog food bag of the whey protein that they sell for like $25. You know.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
I love Optimum Protein. I use their 100% whey gold standard. Fantastic product. Recommend it to everybody. It's whey isolate and quality concentrate. Again, owned by a dairy giant, so you know they're doing something right with their extraction process. So I love it.
All right, cool. Now, somebody comes up to you, you know, obviously to value your opinion, and they say, listen, what's the best tasting protein out there? Because I don't want to buy something that's going to, you know, taste like crap.
Right. If you're just looking strictly taste, Myofusion from Gaspari Nutrition tastes good. I think Optimum tastes fine, but Myofusion, it has some milk proteins in there, so it tastes a little thicker, and a lot of people like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Optimum tastes fine for me, but that's that.
Okay. From a fitness standpoint, you know, I wanna I want to take a protein and it still tastes nasty, so I'm going to throw in, half a scoop of peanut butter and a banana. Do you recommend that?
What's that? Would I recommend that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, depending on your goals. If your goal is to build muscle, go ahead and do it.
Okay, now, what's the best but cheapest protein out there? Because a lot of people are actually on a budget, being here in a recession and stuff like that.
Right. For the price of it, I don't know the exact price, but I know 6-Star Muscle, which is made by the same people that make Nitratech, is available in Walmart, so that's going to be pretty inexpensive. And there's another one, Iron. It's Essential Naturals from I want to say Iron Tech. People love the taste of that, and that's pretty inexpensive too.
Okay. Excuse me. Let's get back on. What do you feel is a great multivitamin / multi-mineral, and do you recommend that, or do you recommend getting your vitamins individually?
I recommend a multi just because, I don't see any benefit of taking it because you get such micro amounts of things, but it's just something I just take, and you have to go trusted brands there. New Chapter's a good brand. Solgar's a new brand, a good brand. So that's just what I recommend to people.
Okay. Best omegas, omega-3, 6, and 9s.
I don't take a 3, 6, and 9. I know Nordic Naturals makes a 3, 6, and 9, but best omega-3, and especially price effective, is the Now brand. They do get third-party GMP testing, so what they say is actually true. A lot of people throw some mercury in there, and it's very inexpensive. You get like 200 of them for like $10, so you can mega dose them, and it won't burn a hole in your pocket.
Okay. Best branch chain amino acids out there.
There's a couple good ones. I use both the Optimum Nutrition one, and I use Extend from Scivation. To me, those two are number one and branch chain ones. There's some that are more expensive. They try to put more science behind it, but don't believe the hype. Just go with Extend or the Optimum's branch chain.
Okay. We have an email coming in. This is Big Joe 21. Big Joe 21 wants to know. All right, hold on. His email is just slightly jumbled. I'm not sure what he's typing on. He's probably using a Mac.
I'm a Mac man. I'm an Apple boy, so.
Oh man, we can't talk about that, man. You know what? Listen. We're gonna leave that out the game. I apologize about that, Big Joe. All right, he wants to know this right here. Okay, he says he takes a branch chain. He takes a decent. Okay, sorry, it's a bunch of typos. He takes a branch chain. All right, he takes a decent protein, but he's not getting any bigger. Well, what do you recommend?
That really depends on your whole nutrition thing. The supplements can only take you so far. You'd have to send me your macros, your protein, carbs, and fats before I can make an assessment, but he's probably just not eating the right types of food at the right times and enough food at the right times, because all that matters. Okay,
so now you're also a personal trainer, all right? What would you recommend as far as like a muscle-building, fat loss regimen?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff I use in my physique formula that's available at Jimmy Smith Training is I use a lot of different things. I use some volume. People in bodybuilding are so focused on volume. They do 12 sets for their biceps and 15 for their chest, when in reality, less is going to be more. So I use a cyclical amount of low volume, of high-intensity rest-pause techniques, and at times throwing in high volume. But most people get by with lower volume. Okay. So if you want to build muscle, you have to train a muscle directly. There's that old internet myth that if you squat, you can get big arms. Well, look at a speed skater. Their quads are huge and their arms are toothpicks. So that just doesn't hold true, and the research validates that. So if you want to get big, train the area, but make sure you hit it with enough intensity. You can get everything you have to get out of a muscle in 6 to 7 sets, provided you train it hard enough. And it has nothing to do with using, 2 or 3 reps like powerlifters say. It has everything to do with the intensity you put into it. So that's my general recommendations that I go into in the physique formula in my book, all about, basically how to build muscle.
Okay. Now, for somebody that is curious and they want to know, is it bad for your body to consume too much zinc?
Too much zinc?
Yeah.
No, unless you're taking 200 milligrams a day, you won't get that though. So no, there's no way you're going to be able to consume too much in one sitting.
All right. Now there's been a few products that's actually been out on the market for a while. One of them is a Zima, which is supposed to allow you to build more muscle as you sleep.
Right.
Fact or fiction?
That's fiction. Just use a good zinc glycinate that's chelated 50 to 60 milligrams. You'll be good.
Okay. Now, Is taking too much of an antioxidant bad for you?
Yeah, they can. Too much antioxidants can become pro-antioxidants. You see that with vitamin C. People will tell you, oh, since it lowers cortisol, take 5 grams a day. That becomes a negative. Keep it lower and smooth with your antioxidants.
Okay. Again, let's go back to a couple of gym science type of questions. Mm-hmm. You have some people that feel like, okay, you know what, a multivitamin or multimineral may not work for me because, you know, I'm 5'10", 245 pounds. I need more. So does that mean that I should take one in the morning and one before bed because my body's going to burn it off?
I mean, you could. You know, I'm 6'6" and, you know, 230 pounds, so I'll take a little bit more than the recommended. That you can definitely do that.
Okay. Now, let's get to these aminos questions. Do you take aminos at night or after the gym, or do you take it during the workout?
What I personally recommend and what I do is I take, if I'm going so long between meals, I'll take a branched chain amino acid drink, and that's 4, 5 hours, 6 hours in between meals. I'll take it while I train because your body wants to break down muscle tissue, so it goes to the branched chains first. Great time to take it when you train there. And I'll take them again, you know, at night if, you know, in between meals if I'm busy or during times of stress. When I'm dieting, when a lot of my clients that diet, they feel it curbs their hunger, especially when the carbs are really low those last couple of weeks, and then a branched chain will help that in between meals as well. Okay. Is it a good idea to take supplements on an empty stomach? Yeah, you can do it. I mean, I don't know how much of a big advantage you'll get. I mean, I take stuff like tyrosine and carnitine on an empty stomach before I do cardio, you know, but you don't have to take all of them, but it can help. Okay. Now, when we say empty stomach, all right, in your professional opinion, let's say somebody ate around 12 o'clock, they're going to train at 5 o'clock. What time does your stomach become empty again? Yeah, it's going to be a little longer than that. It's going to be more of a fasting type principle for about 8 to 12 hours when you're really truly fasted or an empty stomach. And even then, you could take a branched chain amino acid supplement or a whey protein powder that's, you know, virtually low on carbs, because essentially how insulin is spiked is a two-phase process. Amino acids only do the first process of the insulin spiking, so you won't get that fat storage that you'll get if you consume the carb meal. So you got to go a little longer though for the fasted stuff. And there you have it, rapid fire with my man Jimmy Smith. Jimmy, I want to thank you so much for calling in. I want to thank you for the information that you gave out. I know you normally charge a lot for this, man, but here at the Body Shop, we just really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to call in to the Body Shop. Once again, Jimmy, just give them that website. It's jimmysmithtraining.com. All right, there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the Body Shop right here on FTNS Radio. I've been your host, Andre Brooks St. Clair, and once again, the best of the best, listen to WFTNS.